Hi there, and welcome to the Homestead Education Podcast. Do you have a homestead, farm, or just dream of a rural life? This is a show to help you and your kids grow your own food and grow as a person. I'm your host, Kody Hanner. I'm a homesteader, homeschool mom of six, and small town enthusiast. I was raised by an old school rancher and blessed by the grace of God to have been exposed to so much of what rural life has to offer. Join me every week to talk about homesteading, homeschooling, and growth with a homestead education. Hi, and welcome back to the Homestead Education Podcast. I just want to remind you that you can get all my homestead science books on my website and many on Amazon for a new way of teaching agriculture to today's youth and aspiring homesteaders by focusing on small-scale farming and self-sufficiency. If you're a school, co-op, or retailer and need invoicing, please feel free to reach out to me directly. This also includes my newest products, Homestead Trivia and Raising Self-Sufficient Kids. So I just want to give you guys a little bit of a reminder about Homestead Trivia. I have the original version now. I'm shipping it out. The kids version will be out. It's at the printer. They're trying to get it to me by Black Friday, but if they can't actually have it in my hands, it's just going to be a few days after. So it would just be probably when I'd get around to shipping anyways. So get online, get those ordered, because I will make sure they are under your Christmas tree if you order from me. I'll be like overnight shipping and stuff if anything comes up weird. So, okay, nothing's coming up weird. Why did I just give myself bad juju like that? Okay, whew, shake it off. Because it seems to always be my issue. But these ones, I've worked with this company a couple times now. They've been great. So I don't think I'm gonna have any issues. But they're gonna make great Christmas presents. If you have a small store or a retail shop or a farm store, anything like that, these are also great, like as like impulse buys for Christmas. I have wholesaler pricing, so I think they're a lot of fun, and they pair directly with my two curriculums. So it's not exactly all the same questions because I mean, how boring would that be? But like the adult like or family version could be a really great like backup with my introduction to homestead science. The kids one goes really great with little learners. Like I said, they're not exactly the same, but they do make for a really fun way to just like practice things, have really great conversations. And I wrote right on the box that it's educational. Um, so if you purchase from me regularly with like one of the state ESAs or through a school district, they should still be covered through there as an educational product. So these they're a lot of fun. I'm going to keep moving forward with them with some other topics. I have some really exciting ones like coming in the pipeline. Um, but make sure you get them ordered before Christmas so that everybody can, be playing it on Christmas Day. Like, see who's like the master homesteader in your house. It'll just be a really good time. So now, this week on the homestead, I really want to make sure that I'm talking to you guys a little bit about what's going on my homestead on a weekly basis, because I feel like that kind of gets overlooked a lot. And then, I go to a conference or I have somebody message me and they're just like, how do you do it all? And I keep my language pretty clean on here, but it's kind of an S show, like, you know what I'm getting at. It's not perfect and all roses and butterflies all the time. And that's part of what my topic's going to be this week. On that there's misconceptions about homesteaders. But at the same time, we are doing it. I do feel like we're successful. We have a successful homestead business, both on the educational end with, my curriculum and the podcast, as well as our direct to consumer pork operation that brings in a regular income for us, has our farm paying for itself, helps with our family's bills, and we're expanding it. And then on top of that, I can comfortably say that we get all of our animal protein off of our property. Or at least we have that ability. Like we definitely, we'll have a steer butchered and we go through all of our favorite cuts. And then like we'll be at the grocery store and see a roast on sale or something that we can turn into roast beef because we do things like making our own lunch meat. We're like, heck yeah, like, buy as many of them on sale as we can and stick them in the freezer. So, it's not kind of an all or nothing thing. Um, we also, we get tons of vegetables off of our property. I can like as many tomato products as I can. Um, things that I don't, which, I'm really going to get into all this here in a little. So I'm just going to kind of backtrack a little bit. But that was kind of the prerequisite to what I want to talk to you guys about and why I'm talking about my homestead every week. So, I've been working with a website designer for our farm business because we not only want to build a market to our local customers a little bit better and, offer our classes and let people know what we have in stock, but we also want to be able to start shipping our product. We're completely set up to be shipping our meat. I mean, we have the facilities on our property where we keep our meat cold. We have a walk-in cooler to hold our meat. Like, it doesn't keep it frozen, but like I can pack in the cooler on hot days and not have to worry about my meat starting to get like the frost on it. I mean, we already run a shipping company out of the house because we have the book company. So, I mean, we're all ready to like rock and roll. We just need the website in place. That's like our biggest kicker. And it's not even my website designer. He's great. It's me. I've had some crazy things happen to me over the last couple of months. And I even feel really bad because my first meeting with him, he's like, yeah, sometimes I have to wait months to get things back from people. I'm like, oh, that won't be the problem with me. I'm on top of it. Yeah, famous last words. I actually found out like 2 days later. Um, I think I briefly mentioned this a couple weeks ago or a couple podcasts ago, but I think like as a business owner, and a lot of you who listen to me are business owners as well, whether they're farm businesses or homeschool businesses. Um, so kind of just like to backtrack a second, and I have an associate's degree in accounting. I worked as a bookkeeper for a long time. But when my business really started growing, like booming, I wanted to put more effort into serving my customers, writing better products, or more products, and put time into marketing and learning what my customers want and traveling to conferences and just being more available to my business as me versus doing a lot of the back end operations. And I have been burned just time after time. Um, and my husband told me the other day that like you've created a business that is great for Kody, but nobody else can run your business. Nobody else understands how to run your business. And I kind of like, I'll admit, like at the moment, I was like, you're a big old jerk. But at the same time, there's some truth to it. And it's not that I haven't wanted to have a business that I could share, that I could hire people that could step right into the business um, window, whether that's as a VA, as a accountant, as a marketing specialist, whatever all these, as a business the size of mine needs. And like, I don't, um, for those of you who don't know, I mean, I'm shipping out, I don't know, 2,000 packages a year. It's not, I mean, I'm not going to go into the monetary end of it, but the operations end of this is huge, much bigger than I think anybody realizes. And, there's weeks where I don't get a single sale. And then there's weeks where I'm doing 300 sales in a week, especially like coming up to homeschool season or in the spring after conferences. I mean, it gets really crazy. And currently, my 16-year-old daughter is doing like 90% of shipping. She's great at it. She's got it down. But that's literally because she's been in the house helping me ship for the last 3 years. So she knows the routine. And let's be honest, I still have to kind of walk her through the steps because she's a kid. Um, she's 16 now and she asked if she could make a little bit more money. I do pay her. But she's wanting to start saving up for some things. And so I told her, like, if you want that raise, you're going to have to start managing your position in the company more. So I said, I'll give her to the first of the year. Um, and as of the first of the year, if she's not managing her role in the company independently, I can't afford to pay her more because I'm still having to manage her. Now, she's still a child, she's still an employee. I get that piece of it. But there's a lot of steps where, I put everything she needs to do in a digital planner. And then I'm like, make sure you check your digital planner. Make sure you check all the steps in the digital planner. And it's things like to make sure that the customer service spreadsheet is checked So if there was somebody that was missing a book and we needed to ship it out when we did shipping, that happened first before anything else because sometimes we run out of stock and we're waiting on shipments to come in. And she'll get all done shipping. I'm like, did you ship that extra workbook? And she's like, oh, there was an extra workbook. I'm like, yeah, that needs to go out. And she's like, oh, well, we're already out. And I'm like, that doesn't work. Like that doesn't work from a customer service standpoint. It doesn't work from an operations standpoint. It ends up costing me money to the time for me to get it all worked out, unhappy customers if I can't get it worked out, like we already shipped and then she informs me of it. I don't have a book to just like ship out. Um, and so we're learning that role of being a good employee. And I'm not mad at her for it. At 16, I feel like if she wants a higher rate of pay, she needs to show a higher level of independence in her role. So she's been working really good at it the last couple of weeks. She's taken over the social media for our farm page. So if you want to head over and check out the Hanner Homestead on Instagram or on Facebook, she has been taking that over for the last few weeks, and I'm pretty proud of her. Like she's doing good. She creates the reels and stuff, and then I'll like hop into Canva and just make sure they're cleaned up nice. Check spelling and things like that. But other than that, I mean, she's had some really great ideas and it's been fun. So it's one of those just balancing where you can get your employees. So then on the flip side, I've had some really great VAs. I've had some VAs that handled my customer service and went on a week-long vacation and didn't bother to tell me. Um, I don't mind having to take it back over for a week. It's not that big of a deal. I expect people to be able to like live their lives. Now, of course, as a VA who's doing customer service, which is a handful of emails a day, you could probably do that on vacation. I mean, not, and it wasn't like a beach vacation. It was like going to see her parents, like, something that she could easily handle that like while drinking coffee in the morning and just didn't bother to let me know. And so, I mean, 3, 4 days into it, I realized I had a bunch of really mad customers because I thought everything was being handled. So, um, I'm learning my lessons on a lot of things, and some of these just come up as being a business owner, and some of them come up as I think that there's a culture of not taking ownership in your jobs. And I actually did a podcast on this. It was called like Why Our Kids Are Getting Fired or something like that. It was like within the last month. So if you want to go look for it, I should have found it for you, but I'm kind of just going off the cuff right now. Um, And it is, like my daughter aside, because she's 16 and runs almost my entire company, I'm just having to stay on top of her. But she knows each piece of her job. She's just not taking ownership in that piece. And that comes with maturity. I think she's going to be an amazing employee one day, whether that's for me or someone else. On the flip side, like I said, I've worked with a lot of women, a lot of homeschool moms. I'm really big on hiring within my group because they get me, they get what I'm doing. They get that Monday mornings I'm homeschooling my kids and trying to get into my routine of the week and they're not pestering me and that type of stuff. On the flip side, I get it when they're like, "Hey, my kid has, an out of town game. I'm going to be unavailable for the next 24 hours." And I'm like, "Go kid." Like I'm not that type of employer or, I mean, if they're a VA, I'm not really their boss, but um so what ended up happening to me about 2 months ago, or it started a year ago, I had a full-time assistant. Well, it didn't work out, but I ended up having somebody do my taxes. And as I mentioned before, or not my taxes, but my bookkeeping. I have my degree in accounting, but I wanted to be able to put my time towards my business and my customers and stuff. So I decided that I was going to get a bookkeeper. It was someone who'd been doing bookkeeping for about a year on the side. Um, and I wanted to help her out as, like community member, a friend, that type of thing. And I figured, it's bookkeeping. You enter everything. I mean, with QuickBooks, you don't even have to enter everything. You literally just balance everything. And then I gave her access to like my back end for Amazon and that type of stuff so that she could see what I had been purchasing and stuff so she could decide if it was marketing, research and development, office supplies, or if I ordered my daughter a new shirt, like to kind of go through and make those decisions for me. And then I asked her at the end of the month to send the reports over to me so that I could just make sure that everything was allocated right and, see where I was with my loans and that type of stuff, normal business things. And she kept saying, like, well, I'm kind of behind, or can you get me this other statement? And so I just kept providing her with everything she needed, but I was busy in my travel time. Um, I had to file an extension for my taxes, which I wasn't, that it's just life. Sometimes things happen, especially as a business owner. So about a month before my taxes were due back in September, I said, "Hey, I really need those books from you. Where are they at?" And there was like this big story of your PayPal disconnected. So I had to print your whole PayPal and manually enter everything. And I was up till 4 in the morning and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, that kind of sucks, but like, why did everything just suddenly disconnect? Like, what happened? And it ended up just being a huge disaster. Like, it was, and then anyway, she came back to me and she's like, okay, it's all done. I've put it all together, blah, blah, blah. You're good to go. She's like, I had to put in a lot of extra hours. And I was like, well, I mean, I'm sorry that happened to you, but we'll figure it out. I got the books back from her and I had almost a month before my taxes were due, but I was leaving in like 2 weeks to go to Homesteaders of America. And I wanted my taxes handled before we left, so I wasn't worrying about it on the trip. And just I was speaking at Homesteaders of America and stuff. I really just wanted to be able to go have that be my weekend, my marking something off my vision board in like the happiest way possible. And I, woke up the next morning after she said my books were done. I got a cup of coffee, like I got on my stretchy pants, like I was like ready to like sit down and do some accounting because honestly, I kind of love accounting. But again, I have other things I love more. So I was kind of excited for the change in pace, like to sit down, just run some numbers, like that's really easy work for me. Um, I always like to see if I'm going to get a refund or owe money at the end of the year. And, honestly, I don't really care either way because it's just life and it's business, but it's still fun to like play that game, I guess, in my head. And I sat down and like the very first month I brought up, I was like, this isn't right. And so I texted her and I was like, hey, what's up with this month? Like, do we need to fix something? And she's like, oh, no, it's all there. And I was like, ooh, no, it's not. And so I worked through that month a little bit. I ended up having to like reinvent the wheel completely. And because it had been over 12 months, I couldn't just reattach all of my like WooCommerce and things like that, like my backend on my website to be able to um just have everything like repopulate and I just have to like go in and change the categories. Um so I literally my options were delete everything and hand enter it or go through and like hand calculate everything and just make sure everything was balancing, which sometimes that even makes it worse because if things are wrong, then they're not balancing, which means both everything equals up. And yeah, it took me about half a day to realize that this was going to be like like a nightmare and that it wasn't happening overnight. And but like I said, I wanted it done before I left for Homesteaders of America. So I literally started working like 18 to 20 hours a day. I mean, it was like all taxes all the time or like all books all the time. I mean, like I had like tennis elbow going on because of all the typing I was doing and the position I was sitting in to be able to like mark things off. I was exhausted. I was seeing double. I was in tears because I was so upset over this happening and all the work that I was having to put into it. And so I didn't finish. And so I had to take my husband's like, just take it with you to Virginia. We're going 3 days early on purpose. The kids kind of are they're ready for like some downtime. So let's just go. We rented an Airbnb there. You can do taxes all day long. The kids can just play in the yard. It'll be good times and we'll like, have our vacation after the conference. And I was like, oh, that actually sounds really nice. We get to the Airbnb and there was no internet there. And they're like, the when I reserved it, it said like, you'll get your internet password when you get here. And instead of a password, it said, you're on a country vacation. Enjoy your rural time with no internet. And it was just like, oh my gosh, this does not work for me. So I did what I could do that I just realized really fast I wasn't gonna be able to finish it. So I just enjoyed my week. We got home and I mean, I literally just jumped right back into it. And that was the middle of October. It is now well into the second half of November, and I filed my taxes 2 days ago. They are late. Um, they balanced, my books balanced. But it's been a horrible, like almost 2 months of just trying to fix what should have been done reasonably well in the first place. I mean, there was no reason for it to be that bad. And I told her like all along, like, if you're having a hard time getting things to connect, or if you have questions about how my back end business works, whatever, like I'm here for you. And it was just like radio silence. But I trusted her for other reasons that I'm just not going to go into. But I trusted her and I had no reason to believe that um that's what I was going to get. And so it's been a really hard couple of months. I talked to a few weeks ago about how I had a customer just like leave me really bad reviews just because she didn't like the sound of my voice. Like, I mean, that's really what it boiled down to. It's kind of just it's been hard and I didn't want to just come on here and complain. I wanted to just talk to you about what business can actually look like. Um, so I am past that. And it was like really exciting to mark that off the list, but then I also had to look at the to-do list that I've been essentially ignoring. Um, My best friend is coming to see me for Thanksgiving. I'm really excited for that. I haven't seen her in a couple of years. Our kids haven't seen each other in like almost 5 years. Her and her kids are coming to spend a week with us for Thanksgiving, and I am stoked. And I don't want to spend my time doing business stuff that I shouldn't have had to do in the first place. So I have that off my list, and then I'm trying to check off all the little things that I've had to overlook. And so, I mean, it's been like just work, 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 and trying to clean my house. Because let's face it, I'm a homesteader and my house is trashed. And I have a friend coming to see me, and I don't want her to think that we actually like raise our animals in the house, So I'm trying to clean too while still living in the house, which is absolutely impossible. It's like brushing your teeth while eating Oreos. Um, so other homestead stuff. We're on calf watch with Bailey, our oldest milk cow. We love her milk. She is a Belfair, which is half Jersey, half Dexter. She's small, she's docile, she's easy to work with. She gives us beautiful beef calves every year. I can breed her to a full-size beef bull and we have no issues. Her milk tastes amazing. It's a little bit naturally homogenized, so I have a hard time um making butter with her milk, but that's kind of okay because I could drink her milk all day long. So I don't need it to be butter. I mean, the yogurt is so nice and creamy and yummy. And we have another cow who's going to be calving right after her, and then she'll be the milk that we sell. So we have plenty coming down the pipeline, and we're excited. Now to just talk a little bit about what I was starting into, which was I think there's a misconception about homesteaders right now. And there has been for maybe a couple of years, but um, I don't know. I've been seeing a little bit kind of now that the crazy election stuff is settling and it's not really about name calling anymore. It's more, I'm seeing a little bit of just a misconception about what homesteaders are, how we view ourselves, and how we can like make the things happen that we want to make happen. Um, so this first kind of came to my attention. It was about a year and a half ago. Um, so yes, the modern homestead movement is new. That's why it's called the modern homestead movement. And there is like an educational piece that goes with that, that we're kind of farmers, but we're not commercial farmers. Sometimes we're only feeding ourselves, sometimes we're feeding our community. We're big on healthy food, homeschooling, family, those types of things. So it's kind of, I could be like a back to our roots movement, homesteading. I mean, I don't think that we fit into any box really. And that's okay. I kind of like it. But I was speaking at a homeschool conference and I walk in, I was wearing like blue jeans, cowboy boots, I think a blouse from Maurice's. My hair was done. I had Michael Kors sunglasses on my head, hoop earrings. I was just normal gal. I go in, I get my talk, went well. And afterwards, this woman came up to me and she's like, I just want to thank you for not coming in looking like a homesteader. She's like, I felt very comfortable with you because we're dressed so similarly. And I was like, what does a homesteader look like? And she's like, I don't know, the funny hats and the dresses. It's like, there's a few out there that do wear funny hats and dresses, but for the most part, we're just average rural Americans. And I mean, sometimes that means we make our own clothes. Sometimes that means we're buying them from the feed store. And sometimes that also means we're buying high-end clothes because it's just what we need. And I don't think that there's a like a box we have to fit into for what we wear. Um, I've always dressed, jeans and cowboy boots because that's how I grew up. I grew up on a ranch. My dad was a cattle rancher and I was an ag major. And so, yeah, I was very country growing up. And so that kind of sticks with me. But I mean, if you come to my house any given day, I'm probably like working in the garden in leggings and flip-flops. So yeah, there's no box. Um, and um, I mean, I've seen on the road, oh my gosh, I've seen everything from like Southern ladies in dresses to women coming to an all-day conference wearing jeans and muck boots. Like there's not there's not a uniform. Like your uniform is whatever you're comfortable in, and I think that's part of the beauty of homesteading is we're all kind of like fitting into our own boxes, and that's okay too. And I think that that was how a lot of people were even during the original homestead movement. I mean, I definitely have to say that the ones who said, okay, we're gonna like take off across the country and live differently, they were definitely breaking out of norms. Um, but because they didn't have like the connection on a daily basis, whether it's living in the little small colonial towns or like we have today with social media where we feel like we have to conform to society, they weren't. They were conforming to what made them comfortable. And that's, how like, the Western US is still definitely I don't think we fit into any boxes. I mean, growing up on the West Coast, like I think that's just part of the culture of the West Coast to some extent. But then you kind of get that whole homestead movement, and it's everybody just not wanting to fit into a box anymore. So, I mean, and I go out and I meet people, and they think that because I'm a homesteader, I'm a Bible thumper that lives off grid in the woods and I don't know, like mills my own flour and which I do sometimes, but I mean like that we're just like the extreme homesteader that like we built our house with our bare hands and I mean it is absolutely not the case, like at all. I mean, I spent my afternoon watching a online course on Pinterest marketing while also breaking up dried herbs that I just got done drying and I'm putting into jars for the winter. I mean, so it's like that balance of like very modern life, learning how to market on the internet via a digital course with full internet in my fully powered high-speed internet home while also preparing herbs to dry for the winters or to, stock up for the winter. So I mean, it's like I think you can be both sides of that coin and that that's part of what this movement is. Um, and I mean, as like I was talking to a friend about it this weekend and she grew up in Appalachia and she was kind of making a joke about something. I don't even remember what it was. Um, I think it was she was worried about watching the Hillbilly Elegy movie, which is the memoir written by J.D. Vance, our new vice president-elect, about his life growing up in Appalachia and Ohio. And she was worried about watching it because she's like, those are my people, and I don't want them to be like viewed poorly. And I was like, I don't think that's how that's seen at all. Um, I was like, my dad grew up in Middle Tennessee I grew up in Northern California, but like by my dad, who was still very Middle Tennessee. And so I joke sometimes that like we're high-tech rednecks. Whether that's a thing, I don't know. We're just definitely not mainstream, but we're definitely not backwoods either. And I think that both of those are okay. Uh, so I think it's our, like our country is looking a little different right now. And I think as the dust is settling from elections, like I was saying, it's not about name calling anymore. It's about suddenly not only are the homesteaders kind of standing alone and like, the anti-vax, like dye-free moms or crunchy moms, I guess is the better word for it. They're we're all kind of realizing there's a lot of us on the same page. And, crunchy moms can live in suburbia or they can live rurally and vice versa. I know so many like urban homesteaders. Uh, it's all over the place. But I think we're all working towards the same goals, and that's healthier food, more focus on our family, less government control, just kind of back to living our own lives, and that you make out of your life what you want. Kind of that American dream or something. But then there's our perception of ourselves as homesteaders. And I think there's that like, are we trying to keep up with the Joneses or I don't know, the Salatins or the Wingers, or maybe you're out there looking at, trying to keep up with the Hanners. And I think that that's not really what it's about. It's about um that sliding scale of self-sufficiency and where you want to be on that. And you don't have to be all the way to the end. I feel like we're successful homesteaders, and I am definitely not like full-blown self-sufficient. But I'm probably a good two-thirds of the way there. And on some things, like we go like whole hog, and some things we still really love power. Like, so it's like I said, it's all about balance and what you're able to do. So I want to give you guys some like really good tips on how to decide how far you want to take yourself down that scale of self-sufficiency and how to actually do that, like how that can look in real life. So right off the bat, I think with homesteading, we're talking food a lot. But I mean, if you're somebody who's like, I've already got the food down and now I want to look at, making your own clothes, or if you're somebody who you're like, I'm happy buying from the grocery store, but I'm not happy with like, clothes or my own, I want to make my own soaps because I don't like what they put into soaps, or whatever it is that you are working on, just kind of like insert words here. I'm just going to work on the food aspect of it. So, first off, choose things that you're actually going to eat. Like, if you don't eat rabbit, don't raise rabbits. Or if you're like, hey, I live in town and can't have a cow, so I'm going to raise rabbits to sell their meat to buy the raw milk that I do want. That's absolutely a great way to do that. But if you're not going to eat rabbit, don't raise rabbits. It is what it is. Um, and then there's like where we're at, where we have a little bit of everything. And I thought, man, it sure would be cool to kind of like add meat rabbits to that. I can sell them locally. We can have like, a little bit of a variety of protein in our freezers. We use a lot of oddball meats to feed our dogs. So, if I was raising fryer rabbits for the community and I didn't sell them all, and we didn't like it for some reason, I would absolutely feel comfortable cooking that and or processing it and feeding it to our dogs. And, our dogs work hard on our farm and they deserve as good a meat as we get. Um, so yeah, focus on the things that you'll actually eat. What I tell people a lot is sit down and like make your monthly grocery list and then pick some like, 5 to 10 things off of there that you could legitimately next year not have to put on your grocery list. So, if you buy beef every week, but you live in a neighborhood, that's probably not something that you can take off your grocery list by next year. But if you're like, I do not want to buy beef from the store anymore, you could very easily say, I'm going to buy a half a beef off of a farmer And I'm going to do that by next year. And you could like reach out to farmers. Like we offer a pay as you grow program with our pigs, where once I have a pig weaned and ready to go, I let them know and they put in a deposit. And then I say, okay, I'm going to aim for a butcher date in 6 months. Sometimes it's hard to get into butcher dates, so I say aim. And then from there, they take the difference between what I charge for a whole hog and what they paid as a deposit, and we divide that by six, and that's what they pay monthly until I can get them into the butcher. And I do give them a heads up, like, hey, I might get an earlier date, and you'll have to kind of come up with that last little bit on the fly. Or it might be a later date, and you'll be paid off and wait a month, and that's great because then you'll have the money to pay your butcher. So look for maybe companies that or farmers that will do a pay as you grow program, or if they won't, look and make a plan to like yeah, they can sell you a half a steer and it'll be ready in 18 months. Figure out what they charge and what you'll need to start saving up for that on a monthly basis. And then you can take it off of your grocery list because you're going to pay for it all in one lump sum, hopefully with your egg money. I don't know. And then it'll be in your freezer and you don't have to worry about buying it from the grocery store, and you have good, farm raised, maybe grass fed, um, direct to consumer beef that you feel good about serving your family. Um, if you are like, I can't eat anything without rosemary on it. Like I'm going broke on rosemary. That's one. Like go whole hog on rosemary. Like set up a whole herb garden in your windowsill or something, or set up grow lights in your basement and grow herbs like they're going out of style. Because I'll tell you what, if you have extras, you can always sell them dried. You can sell them live. I mean, it's always a positive. So yeah, pick those things and make a plan to get those all off your list in a year. You'll find that other things will fall into place from that. And you'll find that in a year, when you have all those five things, whatever you did to get them is just part of routine now, and they don't feel scary, and you can add five more things. The next one is work it into your daily life. And so that's kind of what I was saying with like, if you've taken a whole year to work on getting, raising a pig that you bought from a local farmer, like a piglet, and you raised it yourself and it's in your freezer, and you're like, that all worked out great. Wonderful. Get on the list for a piglet the next spring and raise another one. And by the time your freezer is empty, you're going to have another piglet to go in, and it's all just part of your routine now. If you want homemade bread every day, work it into your life. What we do is we use a bread machine. We do put it on the dough setting, and then I split it into two loaves, and then we bake it. So what I do is I have the bread machine right next to the coffee pot, and I make bread bags that have all the dry ingredients, and it's right next to the coffee in the pantry. So in the morning when we make coffee, while that's going, we start bread in the bread machine. When the cows and milk, my son comes down with fresh warm milk, my daughter grabs a cup of it, dumps it right into the bread machine, and walks away from it. About an hour later, it dings. That's usually about the time we're finishing up breakfast, or maybe her like morning devotionals or journal work or something. And she'll go in and put it into two separate loaves, or my husband and I will, whoever walks by it first. Yes, my husband helps. And then proof, somebody goes and puts it in the oven. By lunchtime, we have a fresh loaf of bread for lunch and we have another loaf for dinner. It's just part of our day. It's not extra work for anybody. Um, Nobody's in the kitchen all day long baking breads. Like it's just life. You know, um, we mastered some biscuits that we really like. And so when we make biscuits, we always make double. Like unless we're like needing to run out the door or want biscuits for breakfast. If it's a dinner time meal, we always make double, if not more. We cook what we want and we freeze the rest. Then, come Saturday morning, we're like, ooh, biscuits and gravy. All you have to do is pull the frozen bag out of the freezer, let them thaw, or maybe do it the night before so that they're all like, you don't have to wait. And right in the oven they go, and you have fresh hot biscuits. It's all just about how you work it into your daily routine. Like, honestly, how much longer did it take me to make 50 biscuits instead of 25? Maybe 10 or 15 minutes more. I don't know. Because it's all just part of our day. Just make sure you flash freeze them first before you throw them all in the bag. Otherwise, you just have a ball of biscuit. Learned that one the hard way. We do sometimes we do food prep days, which I think a lot of families do that. They make like casseroles for the weekend stuff, or they make, healthy lunches in containers. So our food prep day is really no different than anyone else's, except for we're using like all whole ingredients that we have raised ourselves. So, my daughter, she has it locked in at this point. We all get it. She prepares a whole bunch of stuff to make breakfast burritos, breakfast sandwiches, breakfast bowls, eggs, scrambled eggs, sausage, cheese. She gets it all prepped. And then the whole family comes in and we do like an assembly line. And she'll spend probably most of the day in there prepping food, but she gets to listen to a book on her AirPods. Nobody really bothers her. She does her own thing. She likes it. She's like, please give me a day in the kitchen. And then when she's ready, yeah, we all come in and we assembly line out those burritos and we have breakfast burritos for the next month or more. And it makes our mornings run faster. We're eating whole foods. We're saving money because, the kids, like, for example, they do co-op on Wednesday mornings with their homeschool group. And so we have to be in town by 8:30 or 9, that's a 45-minute drive for us. It's either we grab breakfast burritos or we get to town and we're all like, oh, we're hungry, and we end up buying something um from one of the coffee shops, or we go to the store and get something that's really bad for us. So those things all really make a difference. And when you're saving money, you can put more money on, say that half a beef that you want or something. Um, the next one's delegate. So I've talked a lot about my daughter helping. I like cooking. I like doing all of that. I also am running a business like we talked about earlier in the podcast. Not only am I running a big business, I also have minimal help. And I say minimal, and Savannah sometimes gives me the side eye on that. She does a lot of the physical part of it, and I cannot, there's no way I'd be able to keep up with all of it. But I'm at a place where I need help in that like intellectual handling operation kind of marketing place. And I just keep getting burned over and over and over again. But back to the delegating. I use Savannah's example a lot, but this poor girl isn't being slaved, I swear. She has a lot of free time. She she likes a lot of the things she does. But yeah, I delegate. I mentioned my husband with the bread. The other day I said, I am like swamped. Would you make chicken broth and can it? He's like, yeah, sure. What do I need to do? And that's because he actually does a lot of our canning. He doesn't really like the cooking part. So I will prep everything and then he cans. And he doesn't mind the canning part. So what I'll do is like with the chicken broth, usually I prep it. Or my daughter does or something, we'll have chicken dinner and there's extras and we make broth. Or in this case, we were doing a freezer clean out. So I thought a bunch of chicken and we were making broth out of that, using the extra chicken for making like chicken noodle soup. And we did chicken and dumplings. And I think we froze some to do like chicken tacos later. Um, but yeah, he's like, okay, what do I do? So I just made him a quick list. After chopping a bunch of vegetables and throwing everything in a pot, it just cooked all day. Like he wasn't even, it took him maybe a half an hour. Now, I am lucky enough that I have my husband home most of the time. He's a disabled vet. So we are his full-time job. But even when he has things going on, like working on the farm or he's a volunteer fireman, that type of thing, um, he still, I can say like, hey, we need help cooking dinner, and he jumps right in. It's not, he doesn't even think twice about it. He doesn't always love the recipes. That's kind of his biggest, like, do I have to follow a recipe or is it just cooking on the grill and making a side? But he will follow a recipe, especially if I kind of have him like prepared for it. Our, tonight, right now, while I'm doing this, my daughter and I are both not feeling real great. I'm not sure what's going on with that. My husband is driving with a friend down to Boise tomorrow. So he's kind of unavailable. And so my 16-year-old son was like, well, what are you planning for dinner? We were just going to do loaded baked potatoes. He's like, I can make loaded baked potatoes. And off to the kitchen he went. And so, I mean, it's that like, not only do my kids step in, they feel confident and they volunteer. And that's, I think, really the key. And, um, shameless self-promotion here. I do have a book that I recently came out with called Raising Self-Sufficient Kids. I don't think I have a copy handy to show you, but It's really about how we've gained peace in our home and confidence in our kids through intentional parenting. So if you want to check that out, I'll make sure I link it in the show notes. It's an easy read. It comes with like a workbook, and it's just about really like reflecting on yourself and your kids and how you can get them involved. And that's, my 16-year-old son who's cooking dinner. He's also autistic, but I mean, no problems. He's in there handling dinner completely, and he feels confident in his ability in doing that. And that's the key right there. Um, the next one, don't put your supplies away. Like, just don't do it. Your canner, your dehydrator. If you're going to be a homesteader and you are going to make most of your family's food or even a fraction of your family's food, your kitchen is no longer a Martha Stewart kitchen. It is now a mini processing plant. So face it, like it's always going to be out. We always have meat grinders, we have dehydrators, we have meat slicers, our canning equipment. Like at any given time, something is out. But the reason I do this is like the dehydrator that's set up in another room all the time. If I'm chopping herbs for dinner and they're like, I don't really want to put these back in the fridge. I go right back, stick them in the dehydrator, start it. By morning they're dried. I can crumble them and throw them in a jar. So we do that a lot. So I keep that dehydrator like handy. That's always set up. Now, my canning supplies, those stay out pretty much from like July till about now-ish, which is November right now. If we end up butchering something or like it's still hunting season and I'm not giving up the hope that I'll still get out and go hunting, we might leave the canner out a little longer to can some meat. But I keep it out all the during that time because when you're using your own farm fresh like tomatoes, you don't always get enough every day to do an entire batch. So I will do small batch canning, which is sometimes only like half a batch. Or, I put them in the fridge and I'm like, okay, I have 5 minutes. I'm going to run in there and take all the tomatoes I've gotten this week and get them canned before they turn. If you're trying to do it like large batch canning where, oh, I'm going to can all day long, and, go through 10 crates of tomatoes, okay, that works too, but usually you can't do that from your own garden. You're having to like go buy tomatoes somewhere and then come home and do that like canning day. Where when we do the small batch, I can be like cooking dinner and getting some canning ready to go at the same time and just do one batch at a time as needed. And that's really handy for us. Uh, if you're gonna get animals, be ready for them before you get them. I mean, I know everybody says that. I know we've all had our moments because I have come home with a goat before and had nowhere to put the goat. But you will save so much time not having to chase livestock all over the country. Like it is 100% worth it to be ready before they come to your house. Uh, I'm probably just like talking to a brick wall on that one because you all are gonna run down to uh, Tractor Supply in March and come home with chickens or chicks and go, oh, now I need to build a chicken coop. All been there. No judgment. It's fine. But especially the big ones, if you can like keep your cows in and you're not chasing your cows around, you're going to save so much more time that you can put towards other endeavors. The next one is make your sustainability one of your hobbies. Because if you're really wanting to advance your family on a sustainable level, on a homestead level, healthy food, whatever it is, um, that takes a certain time commitment. So, I mean, if your kids play for travel ball and you're gone all the time, maybe you look at finding ways to save money so you can buy from local farmers because there's probably not going to be time in your life to actually do that yourself. For those of you who do have time, but you still have jobs and that type of stuff, um, make it something that you enjoy doing so that you're not just working all the time. So we love to hunt. We love to forage. We like gardening. Maybe love gardening. Depends on the day. um, we enjoy like cooking and trying new things. So I mean, when we have a whole hog in the freezer, we're not wasting any of those parts because we're trying new ways of cooking it and stuff. And so the things that we're doing to be more sustainable are actually things that we want to do on a daily basis. And there's movement on that. There's places to change what you're wanting to do because if you're like, I have always wanted to do candle making, but that's not a sustainable skill, or it's not a big picture sustainability. But if you can make candles and branch out and find other ways and, buy raw milk and do butter candles and all those different things that you can do to turn around and make a profit off of your hobby, that's going to go directly towards affording grass-fed beef and things like that, then that's worth it. But definitely try to find one of those hobbies that is more sustainable, like the candle making, because if everything went down, you are still going to be able to see around your house because you've made candles. I know that sounds a little weird to put it, but I always look at things like that. Like if the power grid were to go down or something like that, what do we have that's going to keep us more sustainable? And that's something I always look at. Like, I may not have 6 months worth of flour saved up. And that would be a huge bummer if the power grid completely went down. We would run out of bread in like a couple weeks. Bummer. But I would have meat. And yeah, a lot of it's in the freezer right now, but we even have and we can a lot and we dry a lot. But we even have backup plans. Like we always keep a full tank of propane, and we have a propane cook stove for outside, that if everything went down and we realized it was going to go down and stay down for any reasonable amount of time, we could get out there and can all of our meat fairly quickly, where we would have meat for a reasonable amount of time. And I mean, at any given time, there's over 100 hogs on our property. So, I mean, we wouldn't run out that fast, but those are all things to consider. Like, what could you trade for flour if the whole world went down? Okay, maybe that's a little bit of like the prepper doomsday, what do you even call it? Like conspiracy theorists coming out in me. But it's really not, because even where we live, we can sometimes lose power for up to a week in the winter time. And I have to look at some of those things. And sometimes the roads are so blocked from snow and stuff like that, or down power line or down trees, that not only do we not have power, we don't have a way to get to town. So we are reliant on either what we have on our homestead or what we can trade with our neighbors. So yeah, that is where we stand as homesteaders and what the misconception is, both from outside and from inside. So go ahead and start making your list on how you're going to keep up with the Hanners, and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you guys have a great week and keep growing. Thank you for joining me today at the Homestead Education, and I hope that I have given you something to think about this week. To help others find me, please comment and leave a review on your favorite podcast player. You can also follow me on Facebook at the Homestead Education and Instagram at homestead_education. Do you have questions that you would like answered, or just want to say hi? Please email me at hello@thehomesteadeducation.com. Until next time, keep growing!